This is Benjamin Davis with Cointelegraph. I'm here in Davos with Amy. Amy, could you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Amy Seidman, and I'm the founder of BFlow, which is decentralizing sustainable business and investment. We're essentially creating a proof of reputation. The parent company is Noble Profit, which is around business intelligence and matching sustainable solutions. And we're also a member of the newly formed United Nations FCCC Climate Change Coalition, as well as a couple of other organizations that are dedicated to using the UN SDGs to help transform the planet for the good of all.
Very cool. Wow. So, blockchain has a lot of different use cases, and you've mentioned a couple, and so I'll just tackle them one at a time. Well, the first one, so you talk about like climate change. How can we utilize this technology to basically help save the planet and stop us from doing all of the terrible things we're doing to it?
Well, it's interesting because it really crosses many different industries, and there are quite a few companies that are tackling the problems in different ways. One has to do with supply chain. How do we know that this clothing that you're wearing doesn't have slavery, and how do we know that the food that we're eating is actually organic, and that the materials are sourced in a way that is ethical? And so we're looking at the blockchain as a way of tracking those kinds of metrics. And additionally, when you look at corporate claims and they talk about being green, how do we actually validate that that's true? So the blockchain represents a really unique opportunity to create essentially a map of the sustainable metrics that exists that we're not really seeing. And it also enables us to interact in ways that we couldn't before. Our focus right now is on data tracking and validating. Many companies are developing investment vehicles for impact, creating peer-to-peer platforms where we have a component of what we're doing that will enable peer-to-peer purchasing within the supply chain networks. And when you look at peer-to-peer, it's basically enabling that small creator to scale up, reach different customers, and eliminate the middleman. We also have financial inclusion companies that are creating opportunities for people who are essentially the unbanked. So it really manifests in a lot of ways: carbon trading, tracking, enabling people to have solar arrays and sell to their neighbors. So it's just a vast opportunity for many areas.
And you spoke a bit about proof of reputation. Can you elaborate? What do you mean by proof of reputation?
Okay, so one group that we're working with is Indigenous Clothing, and they're one of our kind of use case studies, and they manufacture clothing. They work with local artisans, and they work with organic cotton producers. And they have some systems that are in place to validate the cotton and the carbon metrics that are saved when you use organic, because basically when you're not using organic, the soil has a lot of carbon in it. And they then white label to major corporations, one of which is Eileen Fisher, which is a wonderful brand, fashion brand, who cares about the planet. And so what we're going to do is help create that proof of reputation around these sales to Eileen Fisher, enable a third-party validator to say, yes, that is true, this cotton is indeed organic, and this so basically you have a mechanism that a trusted third party can come in and essentially verify that is true. And then Eileen Fisher will be able to say, here's our flag of approval, our reputation is secure. And many companies and investment firms will make claims as well. I mean, we're in a place, and why this is relevant is $8 trillion have been made in commitments to divest from dirty investments. And we're talking about not in the crypto space, in the financial venture space. And that's a tremendous amount of money. And they're predicting this is going to increase to 40 trillion because of the millennials and women. And how do we know that those investments that are being formed by JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and other types of entities are truly investing in green companies, or that the companies that they're picking from are truly green. You know, the way that the metrics exist right now, there's a lot of hearsay. And you have groups like Morningstar Data. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They provide metrics for Wall Street, and they source some of the information from the news. We all know about fake news. So there's many different ways that this information can be manipulated. And by using the blockchain, we can create these concrete, immutable commitments and claims and validations. Additionally, major corporations have to answer to their brands, customers. Their brands are using the green flag to sell their products and give themselves a good name. And, you know, such as with the United Nations Climate Group, there's 10,000 different kinds of organizations and companies and corporations and partners and cities that are all saying we are going to do all these things. How do we track all of that? And managing that data and enabling that data to be accessible to groups like the United Nations is very difficult when it sits behind someone's firewall on their corporate server, or when they're even in the website in a PDF. So we're creating essentially a breadcrumb for this data to be realized and seen, and then we can use that for all kinds of different purposes, from commodities markets, futures markets, prediction markets.
So could you tell us a bit about what you're working on right now and your plans going ahead?
Yeah, so what we're working on right now has to do with structuring our smart contracts and ensuring that we can use the United Nations SDGs as a metrics, because we believe that that forms a common language for investment firms and for corporations to kind of all around the world be reporting their metrics in a similar fashion, and most of these groups are working towards that. And the UN had formed these, the UN SDGs are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and there's 17 of them, which cover the gamut of, you know, fighting poverty to, you know, eliminating poverty to addressing climate change. And so there's a whole set that we're focusing on that relates mostly to the climate change piece. And I'm part of this newly formed organization called the Climate Chain Coalition, which is a UNFCCC membership organization for amplifying the use of blockchain for these types of projects. And I had the privilege of being a part of Hack for Climate, which was with the COP23 during the meetings in the fall that they have every year around climate in Bonn, Germany. And it was really exciting because they had 100 people from all around the world, of some of the most intelligent engineers to data scientists, with 40 mentors from different corporations to, you know, Consensus was there, Microsoft, Volkswagen, and creating these challenges that we could apply the blockchain to. And there were a number of projects that came out of that were exciting. And we iterated B-Flow and a concept around peer-to-peer to scale. So how could we take this small peer-to-peer kind of concept and then enable the scaling up to corporate purchases, so we could eliminate, say, factory farming and the things that cause the blight on the world. And so it's very exciting to be a part of that. And being here at Davos, I've had an opportunity to announce that for the organization and to engage a number of other groups to join us. So
very cool.
Yeah, thank
you.